There are pros and cons to that. If you're moving, so let's say you're doing a 10-day sprint, and on day 5, you decide to pull in more work. What you're risking there is any predictability that is going to be impacting any other team. So let's say I'm a marketing team and I expected you would finish 10 things, but on day 10 of your sprint, you finished 15 things. I probably only built a marketing campaign for those 10 things. So now I don't have the marketing content ready, the marketing pre-sales or the campaign ready for me to go and sell these 15 things you did, right? So your lack of planning has created urgency at my end. So doing more work might not be the best thing all the time. The important thing is everybody working towards optimizing the same thing, which means if you're optimizing for the ability to predict, then I should also, as an external individual, optimize for the ability to predict if I'm dependent on you. So the sprint will only be successful when you do exactly what you said you would do. And that's the aspiration you're shooting for. But every once in a while, your sprint will not succeed because sprint is an experiment. Sometimes you do more work, sometimes you do less work. But that shouldn't stop you from aspiring to being predictable over time. And that's why in a sprint, you don't want to add more stuff. You don't want to remove stuff from it. Because if you're removing stuff or adding stuff into it, it is also showing that your refinement is not happening in an efficient format. Because if you plan today and tomorrow you change your scope, my question to you as your manager would be, why didn't you see this coming? Why did it blindside you? Why is your product backlog so shallow that you can't see things coming in the future? That means you have to spend more time in refinement. Now, if that's the nature of your work, then that's a different discussion. If it's the nature of your work, then you would just buffer out some capacity to do the operations work, right? But if it's plannable work, then you want to get to a cadence where you're not just thinking about firefighting, but also fire prevention. Fire prevention is how do we avoid getting into the same situation ever again? So this time we'll add in more work with the realization that we shouldn't be doing it. So consistency, right? So either a good practice will compound or a bad practice will compound. The compounding effect of every decision you make, not just at work, but even in life, is huge, right? So you want to think about the compounding effect. By the book, you don't want managers attending retrospectives because there's a potential conflict of interest there and people won't open up. So if your senior managers want information or they want to know what's going on, then there's a deeper question behind that question, which means they either don't trust the team or they're not happy with the performance of the team, or they're anxious about the health of the team. It could be a whole bunch of things. You as a Scrum Master are responsible to manage that expectation. That means you have to facilitate the retrospective with the team. And if there's something that the team is struggling with and they need help from a manager, then you have to get their confidence. Once you get their confidence, then you have to go out to the manager and say, hey, boss, you need to fix this for us, whether it's a skill issue or it's a work issue or it's a performance issue or whatever that might be. But as a rule, if you want people to open up, then you want a peer-to-peer conversation. You don't want a hierarchy. Right? It's kind of like how honest are children with their parents and how honest are they with each other. It's kind of the same thing. And that stuff doesn't go away. So just keep that in mind. I'm not recommending that don't have any sessions with managers at all. Like you can invite your managers to sprint planning, for example. They might provide some perspective. You can invite them to refinement sessions, but you don't want to invite them to internal team discussions like retrospectives or daily scrums, because that's really for the team. Right? Different teams do it differently. You can do it in Jira. I mean, these days, whether it's Jira, version 1, Rally, Azure DevOps, Microsoft Team, there are a whole bunch of different tools out there that help you manage these backlogs. You can track it in Jira. You can also track it in a separate document. The important thing to remember is that make sure that it is tracked in one system of record. Don't have multiple systems of record, because then tracing information becomes difficult. And if you don't know at any given point in time whether you're working on enough work or you're working on too much work, you need to have clarity on that. So dump all your data into one repository. Make sure that data dump is hygienic. So make sure that quality comes in, quality goes out. Don't put garbage into that tool. Otherwise it becomes difficult to make sense of it. And you're right, couldn't have said any better. It essentially is messing with the predictability cadence you're building over time. So in reality, every once in a while, you will add more work. Sometimes you'll finish early also. You'll have taken more work there, and you might swap things out. Is that a good thing? No. Does that happen in reality? Yes. Should we be thinking about the root causes for that so we can eliminate those repetitive trends of root causes? Yes, absolutely. That's the whole point of using Scrum, right? Scrum is almost like a Trojan horse that you're using to sneak in a lot of good practices into your system without even realizing it. So Scrum will expose more problems than solve them for you. You have to decide to solve them yourself. So think of Scrum as a problem exposing framework, not so much as a problem solving framework. You as an individual have to solve the problem yourself. Yeah, so if that's a problem, then, and that sounds like a problem, I don't envy your situation. I'm sure it's a difficult situation. What I would recommend is reaching out to an agile coach in your company. I mean, if you have good agile coaches, then they would be incredibly perceptive about these things, and they would have ready to go strategies to work and coach that manager to sort of step away and create a bit of a separation between them and the team, and just give them a little bit of breathing space. So reach out to those people, and hopefully those coaches can help you. And if you don't have agile coaches, then find out who is championing the agenda for agile in your company. Might be a director of transformation, a VP of transformation. Talk to them and say, hey, you're championing the agenda for agile. Here are 5 things I see that is messed up about this transformation. Can you help me? I want to solve this. How can I support you? And if nobody else is doing it, you do it. And if you're going to do it, then hopefully things can get resolved over a period of time.